Hey guys, yeah, I know, pretty different face. Basically, I need your help with something, so I figured I'd get your attention by doing a bit of a face cam, quick announcement update thing. Essentially, I've been toying with this idea for the last couple of months, and I don't really have the skills or the time or the ability to do what I want to do. Essentially, I want to create a wiki page for Springwood, a place where people can, put updates and the stories behind places and neighborhoods and all the bits and pieces that people contribute every episode, but they just get lost within each video that I upload. So, by creating this wiki page means that we better have a central place where you can explore Springwood or, update whenever you feel like it, and a place where everyone can kind of put all their information into this one build. I don't know how to do it. I've been trying for a little while. I can't pull it off. And this is where I need your help. If you've got any skills in web design or got any ideas, or you want to give me a hint into what direction I should take, or if you want to take over the thing and you want to design the thing yourself, can you please get in touch with me on Twitter or on Instagram or Discord or anywhere? That'd be really great. I would really love that. Links are in the description for those places. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll talk more about it in the actual episodes. But yeah, thanks. G'day guys, Tools20 here and welcome to episode 33 of Springwood. Today's episode we're going to be working on the first distribution center for Springwood. It's going to exist pretty damn close to the airports. Actually, it's right next door. A reason why I'm putting it here is because, well, mostly they do exist around airports, so I wanted to stick within that realistic layout as possible. And I also go to town using the new car park roads that were released not long ago on the Steam Workshop. However, before I start commenting on what I'm building on screen, let me just go through a little bit more about this wiki Springwood page idea that I have. So you're all probably very much well aware that Springwood is going to last for a really long time. That is definitely the idea behind it. It's a city full of Easter eggs, hidden gems, super amounts of detail in terms of layout and how cities work, and we are essentially building a city together as we put all of our stories and all of our ideas into this build. Now, the only problem with that is that they only exist through each video that I've released, and that has always been a massive problem for me. I've always wanted a way that you guys can continue to contribute even when I'm not uploading Springwood episodes. So by releasing this wiki page, it means that you can just visit the website and basically scroll through and read all about Springwood and look at pictures and check out maps and find different areas about Springwood and even adds to it, like just like a Wikipedia page. An example of one of the backstories that someone has created for Springwood is we have this church that we built probably about 6 months ago, and I put it to the people, what should this religion be that exists within Springwood? And that religion ended up being named the Church of Simology, and they worship this god called Tetlan Sao. And I love this whole backstory that was built behind it, but that whole story got lost within one of the videos. Now, essentially, you'd be able to go onto the wiki page and upload that story, and I'd be able to add those photos as I saw those stories sort of exist onto the page. Then I'd be able to add the Easter eggs within each video and create that backstory, and I'd be able to make the videos and people would be able to create more of the story on the wiki page. And if there was some way an asset creator would want to somehow make an asset that was based around this, or, you know, if somebody wanted to continue this idea, it'd just be so interesting. It'd just add a whole new layer to Springwood, and the layer that I've been wanting to add for so long. If you think that this is a really good idea, if you think this is something that you'd love to see, please get in touch, let me know in the comments. If you would like to take control of this and, you know, go ahead and build something, please let me know, because I would really love that. I will probably end up doing it myself if nobody is interested, but it's going to take a long time if I end up doing it, and it's probably going to be pretty bad because I don't have the skills to make these things, and I am not skilled in web design. I've made one website and it took me months and months and months, and a website's very different to a wiki page. So please guys, if you are interested in something like this, if you would love something like this to exist, please let me know in the comments, and let's get this ball rolling. I was always going to keep this secret until I had it released for you guys. However, I think it makes more sense to talk about it and get you guys on board to actually make this thing happen. So yeah, that is the idea. I might talk about that a little bit more in this episode. I might not, who knows, we'll see how this episode turns out. But yeah, that's really exciting for me. I'm really, really damn excited for that idea, and I hope you guys are too. Maybe you're not. I don't know. Please let me know. Don't let me know if you're not excited. That would just break my heart. Anyway, in terms of what we're building right now, this is the distribution center. If you don't know what a distribution center is, they are basically centers that exist within cities that allow lots of cargo to go in and out of one area. They do mostly lie around cargo areas and transport hubs like airports. So I am building this one based around none of them. I am using so many ideas from Google Images and from LA and New York and all sorts of places just to get an idea of how they look. I didn't want to build one exactly how I am looking off Google. I wanted to kind of make one of my own. However, I definitely did use Google to get a good idea of how the structure sort of looks and how they somewhat operate. You can get a fairly good idea looking at these images just to get an idea of how they flow and how the road network works and all that sort of stuff. And using these new roads that have been just released, the car park roads, these are so incredible. This is my first time really using them properly. However, I am only somewhat using them as car parks. A lot of these are operating as just big drive spaces for these centers, for these industrial parks. And I'm going to use this a lot because I've struggled a lot with that part of industrial areas, because a lot of these industries have giant areas for trucks to drive around. However, in city skylines, you only have roads and roads that gets larger, but they always have these lines. And so I've had to use ploppable asphalt mods to, basically rely on that to make these roads. Now I don't have to. Now I can use these car parks and essentially sometimes use them as car parks, and then I can also use them just around industry. And you'll see me use a couple of techniques to create that look as well. And I think the look turns pretty cool. By the way, this episode, it's structured a little bit differently. So I originally recorded it. I recorded like a bigger build, but I actually really loved the work that I did in both the builds and the level of detail that I put into them. That I've decided to split that episode into two. So this episode's a touch shorter than it usually is, and the time lapse is just a little bit slower than usual because I did want you to focus on a bit more of the work that I'm putting into it. And that way I can actually release slightly more episodes of Springwood if I just didn't cut out lots of the work that I do. I mean, that seems to make a bit more sense to me rather than, because I usually cut out half of what I build and try to include it in the cinematics. However, then I am actually cutting out half of the work that I put into something, and I don't know, it kind of doesn't feel right anymore. I think I'd rather shoot off the commentary like this and do make the build into two separate videos. At least that's an idea that I'm having right now. I will probably change. I'd change a hell of a lot my ideas of what I have for each video. What I'm doing right now is I've basically placed down all the bits and pieces, all the main buildings for this center, and I'm now just filling these gaps in with mostly just smaller industry. A lot of these I'm just using find its to find certain bits and pieces in the industrial sections, and once I've found it, I just place it down and fill it in with random bits and pieces. Somebody commented in the last episode, and they made a really good point about how much realism that I'm putting into this series. Because this series is based on the 80s, I'm trying really hard to keep with an 80s feel. Apparently though, they made a really good point that I am placing down far too many containers for the 80s. And that's something I didn't really think about. I am trying to stick with the 80s feel as much as possible, but I am using those containers as a way of just filling in those gaps that I don't really know what to do with. I usually do that with trees, or I do it with containers depending on the area. So I'm gonna have to reduce the amount of containers I use, because I do actually want to increase the amount of the 80s feel as possible. I try really hard. It is tricky sometimes, but I do actually feel like I have deviated a little bit too far from the 80s as of late, as I've been building. So I'm going to try and stick with a bit more of an 80s feel. And I am going to ask you guys right now, if you can think of anything that I could add to that 80s feel to it, feel to the city, please let me know, especially to do with 80s in America. If you grew up in the 80s in America, that would be awesome to find out a little bit more of your experiences, or if you've got some ideas behind, what the 80s was like for you, or if you've got some really cool memories from the 80s, please let me know. Or even from movies, because a lot of what I am taking from is from 80s movies that I've watched. So, yeah, let me know. I'm trying to increase that 80s feel a little bit more, and also I want to kind of capture a lot more of Springwood from a little bit closer down, because as you guys are all very well aware, I love the atmosphere of this city. And as we get bigger and bigger, the atmosphere is getting so much better. Like, I love flying around this place. So, yeah, I'm actually going to try and do a little bit more closer to the ground views. Cinematics, I think, will be a little bit more like that in today's episode. So a little bit about what I've been building on screen right now, and I've placed down a lot of these car parks, and I'm actually using them as car parks rather than just as roads. I'm trying to keep some car parks in between each building, because I want there to be parking for the employees of this actual building. And then I'm using a lot of these car park roads just as roads. The reason why I'm using them as just as roads, because they have such a cool texture to them. It means that I don't have to rough them up with decals, and they are also just a little bit wider than normal roads, which I think is way more realistic for an area that is being used a lot by trucks. So that's why I'm using those roads as well. Plus, they don't have those annoying pedestrian crossings. They will spawn all the time in these areas that I build, and I would have to use the ploppable asphalt mods to remove them. All those crossings are so frustrating to me, because I generally don't want them. I don't want them more than I want them. So it's really nice having these roads just to place down. It's also really nice having that tool now to actually be able to modify your roads, and I'm seeing so many great roads coming out lately on the workshop that are so beautifully detailed. I think I'm getting to a point where I might not need the Roads United mod anymore. No, not Roads United. What's the other one called? Networks Extensions mod. Actually, even both mods I probably won't really need quite as much, because now that we're releasing so many of these new roads, I don't really need them quite as much as I need those two mods. And it just means that that's two less mods to my game, and using those roads just gives me a little bit more control like that. So I'm really excited to see what new roads will be coming out. Pretty much, that's pretty much like the thing that I'm watching the most of, is to see what sort of roads come out. That is probably the best updates at the moment for me. What I'm doing as well is I'm trying to really remove a lot of the concrete look around here, but I'm also very much aware that there is a lot of concrete within these spaces. I mean, these are industrial areas and they've been an industrial space for a really long time. So it's kind of important to have less green, more concrete. However, there is just one texture of concrete here. So it's really important to change it up using decals and cracks, and even these roads just really help to just change the different textures of the concrete. I'm slowly getting better at doing it, definitely not a master, but yeah, that is something that I am working at right now. This whole area works really nicely next to the airports because, well, like I said before, distribution centers exist pretty close to airports. They are massive cargo hubs, and they are, it's great that it fits into this spot here. In terms of where we're actually building right now, we are building next to that suburb that I built in the last episode of Springwood. No, second last episode of Springwood. Episode 30 of Springwood. The one with the canals. I'm going to be giving a far bigger overview of all these builds in probably, I don't know, I'm going to say about a month's time, when we have finished all these suburbs around here, and I'll be doing a cinematic overview of the airport. I'm really excited to do that because there's a lot of stuff that I've been working on off camera, off screen, and I've been doing that because I've been saving it for the this cinematic video. In this video, I'm going to be highlighting a lot of areas that you haven't seen before, a lot of the functionality of the airport, and if there's anything else you'd like to see from that airport video, please let me know. I've got some really cool ideas for building around this airport at the moment, mostly sticking with a industrial area feel to it. However, I've got like this really great idea that someone has given me. They left a really cool comment, and it was basically, they left me a link and said check out this area around LAX. When I checked it out, it blew my mind. I totally didn't even realize this even existed. So I sort of chased that up and decided to build something very similar in Springwood. And that'll be not in the next episode, but in the episode after. If you live in LA, you might know what I'm talking about, but it's totally up my alley, and it's something that I'm really excited to build. Actually, I'm going to build it straight after this episode, after I finish recording this episode, I should say. I'm so keen to build it, so keen. And I think the video is going to turn out pretty damn sweet as well. This area that I'm building here, I am now in a different space for inspiration, and I'm sort of getting inspiration for all those industrial areas around these LA rivers, because these spaces are really interesting to me because they bring back a lot of memories from playing GTA and doing all these missions around there. And even when I visited LA, I've remembered traveling over these bridges and seeing a lot of these spaces around these rivers, and it just gives me so many memories. I know it's just a game, but like, as an Australian, as a guy who hasn't really been to LA that much, that is like the closest I've been to LA, playing GTA, which is so sad, but like, I am channeling a lot of that inspiration into Springwood. Especially to do with all those Easter eggs within that game. And look, I've spoken about this before. Detail and all the effort that people put into things like this, really inspiring to me. And that is like the next level of art for me, is what you can do within these 3D modeling platforms. Yeah, that's right. I just called a game a 3D modeling platform. Such a wanky thing to say. So yeah, I'm channeling a lot of GTA feel for this area. Mostly because I just remember playing so many missions around these spots, and I think they're so cool. I've always loved these little areas, and I think what I love about them is they're like these little areas that people would not exist, that people would never visit unless they work there. So they're like these little hidden gems that you might get an interesting glimpse of the city that you would not normally see from a let's say Griffith Observatory, or from a really nice hotel or something like that. And they're these areas that I actually really like. I love areas that don't usually get that much of doesn't get that much of a crowd. And so yeah, that's why I kind of like this spot. It's like a real hidden gem, and a place that you would usually only ever see from an aeroplane or traveling over a bridge, or something like that. So if you take a wrong turn and you accidentally down in some weird spot, and you kind of go, what the hell, where the hell am I? I don't know where I am. So that's what I was trying to build there, just a really interesting little spot. And there's going to be lots of those builds. Actually, the next episode is full of those builds all around the rivers of Springwood. So get excited for that. I'm sort of hoping that'll be kind of sooner than the weekends, or it might even be, I don't know, who knows. That is definitely the plan. Just right now is to release a few more Springwood episodes than usual. Right now on screen though, I have yeah, you've guessed it, I've just copied that entire car rental place that I built for the airport a couple of episodes ago, and I've placed it on there. Massive cheat. Yeah, I know you're all pointing at the screen calling me a cheat right now, but I did that because I've already built one of these. I've built two of these things, and I did not want to build another one. In terms of inspiration, it does not exist for building another car rental area. So copying that whole place makes a lot of sense, and to be honest, they're all very similar anyway. So whatever. That's just how I work. That's just how this city operates. Right now, I am showing you a bit of a cinematic view of this area that I'm building, because I want to highlight whereabouts we are operating right now. So this area is right next to the airport. It's squeezed between this suburb and the airport, and I wanted to place down here something that wasn't a distribution center, but something that was some sort of an office block place that would fit in nicely to this little spot. I didn't want to build a suburb because in terms of a suburb, in terms of how roads work, a suburb wouldn't exist in a space like this for a couple of good reasons. First up, it's too close to the airport. Suburbs aren't usually that close to the runway. That'd be far too close. Second of all, in terms of a road network, roads, like I said before in another video, roads are usually really long unless they have been placed for a specific center or for a shopping place or for an office block. Roads in terms of suburbs are usually all connected so that they're easy to get to. When it comes to office complexes or industrial areas, that's when they sort of shoot off into their own little streets, and they might only exist for a block or two. So that's what I had to try and put into this area, is just a little office area that would flow in nicely with this space. In terms of Springwood, layout is really important for me. Details is important. Easter eggs are important. But layout is also a massive part of this city, because I want it to flow like a real city, and in terms of getting it to flow, I need to make sure that suburbs are where suburbs are meant to be, and industry is where industry is meant to be. That's just an absolute nerd fact from your boy. And now, it is pretty much it for this episode, guys. Thanks for tuning in. It's slightly shorter than usual, and slightly less work than usual. However, it's all with a good intention. Trust me, I'm not getting lazy. I just want to release more episodes of Springwood rather than less and less, if that makes sense. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys, and thanks so much if you end up contacting me about the websites. I would love your help. I don't have the time I don't have the skills. I bloody need your help, guys, so please get in touch if you do have any of those things. If this video has been helpful or interesting or you've loved it, please let me know in the comments or with the thumbs. And until next time, have a fantastic week, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. See you later.